itself, and they can do the rehab at home itself. All right. So some of the issues when I found out this is related to my PhD. So number one is the unclear exegame features for game development itself, limited rehab process that uses appropriate tools, and finally inaccurate assessment technique. So after patients have done their rehab, so what are the criteria to evaluate whether they manage to progress, how it being measured? So normally during this phase, actually, we managed to find out, okay, that even each rehab center have their own criteria, and it is not synchronized between each of these rehab center. Hence, this game comes in. Okay, so some of the research questions that will be answered include: what are the elements for game-based TB rehab? What is the conceptual framework that can be used to develop these games specifically for Parkinson's disease patient? And finally, how can the conceptual framework be verified? Okay, so the objective includes to investigate the elements for game-based rehab, to propose a conceptual framework, and finally to verify the framework itself through game prototype development. For your information, this framework is known as MyPart. It is more towards my Parkinson's disease story. It's like a story for them. All right. So some of the literatures that have been done related to this this research includes, of course, understanding the terminology, and basically we have to identify what are the Parkinson's disease symptoms and even effects on the Parkinson's disease patient. And next is the rehab framework that can be that is game-based. Okay, that means fun to play, and in the same time try to rehab this community. And finally, comparison and element mapping, gamification of PD treatment, of course, HCI study, and of course, finally, it's the exegame tools itself that can be used to assist in the rehab process of the Parkinson's disease patient. Okay, basically, relationship between all these games, there are many categories within these games. So some includes serious games, exegames, and these are their relationship. Okay, serious game is also known as a game with objective. What are you trying to achieve? That means, for example, you develop a game to assist kindergarten child to learn ABC. Okay, that is an example of a serious game. And then exercise game basically focus on games that integrates with exercise. It is basically used to tackle issues that relate to obesity. The idea of exegames, basically, initial idea was to tackle obesity. Hence, the development of few tools such as Kinect, PS Move, Nintendo Wii, and so on. Basically, is to tackle obesity among kids who are interested in playing games. So this research basically try to integrate these tools and some of the game elements and try to come up with a game that can assist Parkinson's disease patient to do rehab. Current exegames which are in the market basically focus on games for normal people. Hence the difficulty level is not suitable for patient with disease or difficulty with movement. Okay, I did highlighted in the earlier slide that basically Parkinson's disease patient is divided into two categories. One is motor and another one is non-motor. So motor is regarding stiffness, tremor, bradykinesia or slowness in movement, and postural. Postural and gait impairment normally causes them to fall down. And then for non-motor, neuro dysfunction, disturbances, sleep behavior, even issues that relates to their sex and so on, fatigue, mental, and so on. There's a lot of non-motor issues as well. So this research basically is try to encourage them to do motor-related rehab while trying to keep them motivated. Okay, so some of the frameworks or existing framework that I've studied regarding this research include, there are a few here stated here, but basically total 8 frameworks have been studied and even 30 related documentation have been analyzed regarding this framework. When I try to construct or propose a new conceptual framework. So these are some of the frameworks that have been studied. Okay, each framework have its own strength, and each framework have its own element. All right. So this one is related to game-based cognitive. That means brain related. And then this is for Parkinson disease patient as well as stroke, but it's each of this framework, like I said just now, have its own pros and cons for each of the framework. And these are some of the documentation or collection of documentation that I've studied and try to map out what are the important elements, and these elements have been verified with some of the experts, which includes a neuro surgeon and few physiotherapists, patients, and even expert in Parkinson disease handling of PD patient. Okay, that means someone who's been running some of the they call it organization that try to rehab this patient. Okay, so for Parkinson disease patient, basically they have difficulty when it comes to driving and so on. So normally they tend to rely on third party that can help them, or they call it someone that can take care, caretaker they call it. Okay, so caretaker to help them in terms of driving them to this physiotherapy center and so on. Unfortunately, okay, at all of this rehab center, most patients tend to attend only 1 or 2 times. After that, they prefer to do it at home. So when they do it at home, what are the elements that can ensure they do their rehab consistently, and how it is being monitored? Those are some of the issues that I've managed to find out when I've conducted this research and wrote this paper, basically. So some of these devices that exist in the current market include PlayStation Move, Nintendo Wii, and Microsoft Kinect. These are all different type of devices or different type of products that can be used to assist in rehab for this PD patient. Okay, but for PS Move and Nintendo Wii, these two devices require the patient to hold the device, okay, using their hands, of course. So, but Microsoft Kinect have its own uniqueness where you can just attach these devices on top of the monitor or screen, and it will detect the movement of the patient while doing the rehab. So the patient needs only to do what is being instructed on the screen and move, and without even engaging or holding any item. So in terms of safety, Microsoft Kinect managed to resolve one of the issues. So right now it goes back to the how can the game being designed that relates to or suitable to the Parkinson disease patient itself. So before we look at the framework, these are some of the method that has been used. That means it is a mixed method research, qualitative and even quantitative. Quali because through quantitative method, we won't be able to identify motivation, emotion, their acceptance of the product itself. Okay, and for quantitative method, basically is to verify whether the game is suitable or accepted or not from various point of view, including from the patient itself, of course, because this game is being developed for the patient specifically. All right, these are the research flow that have been proposed for this research, okay, that have been used, not proposed, been used by throughout this research. That means through LR interview, and then gap analysis, after that identifying existing framework, and then develop the framework itself, and then prototype development, verify the framework itself, and if the expert have been agreed, then of course report writing, that means end of the product. So in basic or layman's term, basically first stage is to identify what are the issues related with Parkinson disease patient and current issues in terms of rehabilitation. So I have to collect all of these issues and then try to study the existing framework and come up with the framework itself at this stage. Okay. Next stage is to develop the game based on the framework itself. After the game has been developed, okay, both of this product, the framework and the prototype itself, have to be verified by the expert. Expert includes someone who is beyond 15 years experience in this field. Okay, and basically throughout this research, the framework and the games have been verified by the expert and patient both. Okay. So basically, in order to come up with the framework itself, 183 papers from 922 have been studied, and word cloud produced from documentation analysis, and result of the interview basically uses thematic analysis, which is part of the analysis method from qualitative type analysis. So why thematic analysis? It is good in terms of exploring patterns, and even it is useful for examining the perspective of the research participants. So these are some of the frequencies that have been identified from all of these papers that we have downloaded and analyzed. And these are some of the patients that have involved with verifying the game itself and the framework itself, right? We have almost about 11 patients. Normally in a research, okay, for Parkinson's disease, the numbers is around 9 due to their consistency of the result is almost the same. So in my case, I've extended it to additional 2 people, and the result is quite is very positive, in fact. So these are the framework that have been proposed. Basically, first, it is up to the patient itself. Okay, before the game developer engage in developing game, it is up to the patient itself whether they agree to do the rehab using technology or games. Okay, if they do not accept, then at the early stage, then don't proceed with the game development itself. Okay. Second is based on their modified Hon-NER rating scale. These are the 5 stages of the patient itself. Okay, 1 until 4, basically, you can see difficulty in movement and so on. But stage 5 is considered they have to move using a wheelchair or even bedridden. All right. Next is the therapies. You need to identify what kind of rehab that is suitable for the patient and what kind of scoring method that is suitable in order to assess this patient, right? Next stage is the game design itself, where you need to integrate all of these elements: safety, evaluation, efficacy or keberkesanan in Malay, and motivation. Ensure that the patient are engaged with the games. And the game mechanics, that means what kind of communication between the patient and the game, the device usability, the human-computer interaction, and even the gameplay itself. If it is too difficult, then the patient tends to give up and won't carry out their rehab continuously. Next is the game engine. What kind of engine suitable to be used to develop this game? There are few engines in the market. Okay, we have Unity 3D, Unreal, and so on. So the game developer normally have their own tendency to choose what kind of game engine. As long as it is suitable with the game design and game mechanics, both can communicate well, suitable for the patient, then they get to decide which game engine suitable for them. Next is the result, of course, and everything has to be stored in a database for future references, and you can see the patient progress itself from time to time. Okay, so for verification and testing, some of the experts, like I said just now, have tremendous experience in terms of verifying this framework, and even 11 patients were chosen based from various Hon-NER rating scale, and 90.9% agree to the game and its element is suitable. Only 1 patient disagree because he is at an earlier stage of the rehab process, very early, and even he is an ex-athlete. Okay, so if you see him, you won't be able to identify whether he did have this Parkinson's disease, very early stage. While the other 10 patients did agree and think that it is very suitable and in line with what they are doing at home right now. Only it is safer and more reliable through this game concept. Okay, so some of the experts involved in helping to verify this framework. And these are some of the snapshot of the game. It is a prototype game, basically try to prove the concept itself. That's why it is not cantik lah, dia bukannya colorful ke apa benda. It is basic just to verify the framework. So basically 2 games have been developed out of the framework that I've showed just now or presented just now. One is the patient have to carry all of these boxes and put it next to them. For us, it might be easy, but for patient with Parkinson's disease patient, they have problems in terms of hand coordination. That means 2 hands, very difficult for them to sync with their two hands. Dua tangan sangat susah nak develop. Kalau kamera nampak saya, dua jari ni susah untuk diorang letakkan next like this lah, doing like this. They have difficulty in doing that. And on my right side is a patient where they try to play the game where they have to grab the star and put it in a basket. That one also involve basically test on the hand-eye coordination. So they have to take certain time in order to ensure that they manage to put all these stars into a basket. For us, it might be easy, but for these patients, it is a big challenge for them. That's why we need to design the game with suitable difficulty level and not letting them give up when they do this kind of rehabs. Okay, these are two examples. That means some of the concept using the framework, basically they can develop other types of gameplay as well, okay, for legs, for walking, and so on. Okay, so I think with that, I thank you. I open for Q&A session.
All right, our first presenter provided us with an excellent session. Okay, something to do with game-based framework, a prototype for our Parkinson's disease patient. All right, so I would like to invite our audience to ask any question to our first speaker here. Do we have any question for our first presenter? All right. Okay. So I don't think that we have any question from the audience. Okay, I have a question for TS Muhammad Fairuz, our first presenter. We all know that this game-based framework is specifically designed for those Parkinson's disease patient. Okay, and how can we actually differentiate between this game-based framework with the other prototype that we have outside there in the market?
Okay, you can have, basically there are a lot of prototype games outside there. But for Parkinson's disease patient, basically for the whole flow, in order to identify the framework itself, it involves a lot of emotion basically. So you have to deal with these patients emotionally, you know, that is one thing. And then second one, for the game base itself, you have to identify first, like I said, even you have a rehab game for stroke patient and so on. But in terms of evaluation criteria and method of rehab, all of these are different for each and every disease. Okay, we have dementia, everything is neuro-related diseases. But for Parkinson's disease, you have to take into account, okay, their Horn and Yahr rating scale. That means their stage of the Parkinson, and then their evaluation stage. We have MDS, UPDRS, and then they have this Schwab and England analysis. This kind of analysis and even the rating scale are not being used in other diseases. For stroke, they have different type of criteria. So you have to take into account all of this analysis before you and integrate it into your framework. And the game base or the prototype game have to take into account this analysis in order to come up with suitable product or suitable game for these patients.
All right, okay, thank you, yes, Muhammad Fairuz. Okay, my second question will be, just now we mentioned about emotional, it has something to do with emotion, the emotion of this Parkinson's disease patient. So does it actually boost the motivation, boost the motivational effects of this Parkinson's disease patient when it comes to movement, when it comes to improving their health?
Okay. Basically, how to motivate this patient in order to do rehab. Normally, when they are doing rehab, okay, sometimes like just now, they have to pick up stars, right? So when they tend to pick up 1 or 2 stars and find it difficult, normally they tend to give up. So the game itself have to integrate with some of the motivational elements. For example, it will detect there's no movement for certain seconds, certain period, and a motivational quote will pop up. Come on, you just do it another time. That will be a significant progress for you. Lepas tu, after the patient have done it, and then maybe only 2 stars left. Okay, you are almost done with this thing. Basically, it tries to encourage the student, the patient to carry out until the objective of the game managed to be completed by the patient. And this must be done consistently. Some of the patients, okay, they like I said just now, emotion and so on, they find it difficult to rehab, so they choose to play games through their phone or even tablet. Because why? It does not require significant movement. They enjoy the game. For example, playing Scrabble. Okay, it's good for their brain, yes. But in terms of movement, it is against the advice of a physiotherapist. So using this framework or my framework, actually, even for future game developer, they can design a game, for example, playing Scrabble, but they have to move. That means stand in front of the TV or sit in front of the TV, and they have to move their hand, pick up the alphabet, put it on the board. So that's how you try to encourage them to move. The objective is almost the same. Scrabble, all it's the same, right? You have to, construct a word and then scores and so on. So instead of just using your finger, okay, you have to encourage this patient to use their hand or even their legs to move all of these words. For example, in this case, it's a Scrabble game. So move their hand and try to score. And try to encourage them to at least continuously do it, and definitely it will have an improvement. Even from previous research, not just gaming, Tai Chi. Tai Chi is one of the example of movement. Tai Chi, and then some of these activities that relates to movement have been proven, okay, from previous research that it can assist patient or at least slow their worsen level of the disease to itself. That means movement helps. So that's why one of the angle that we can enter is through this game development. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's all from CS Muhammad Faris bin Rauf, Abdul Rauf. So thank you for the presentation, and it was a very interesting presentation from TS Muhammad Faris. Thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to invite our third presenter to present her paper. I would like to welcome TS Rasidah binti Rosardi. The topic of her paper is E-Sign Language, an approach for communities to learn Malaysian Sign Language. I would like to welcome TS Rasidah binti Sardi.
Okay, thank you to our moderator, Ms. Fariha Diana. Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning to the audience. Okay, so for the third presentation, okay, my topic is the E-Sign Language, an approach for communities to learn Malaysian Sign Language. And these papers, my team are myself, Rashidah Sardi, Nasrullah Zainal Bakri, Fauzi Ahmad, and Shaliza Shafi'i. Okay, so here are the contents of my presentation. Consists of abstract, introduction, problem statement, research questions, purpose of study, research methods, findings, results, and finally, the last one, conclusion. Okay, so for the abstract, education is vital for everyone to interact in everyday life, including for the deaf community. Currently, Malaysian Sign Language, or we call as MSL, is the primary language for the deaf community as it is the official sign language in Malaysia. However, the awareness among the Malaysian communities in communicating with deaf individuals is still lacking. Not many people in the communities are able to fully understand or use the sign language. Moreover, The sign language learning methods are not that fascinating to attract the public to learn. Hence, communication gap from the barrier between the Malaysian public and the deaf community. Therefore, this study was conducted to identify ways to increase the awareness and knowledge of the sign language among the Malaysian communities. In addition, the study also attempted to investigate methods that can contribute in reducing the barrier of communication between the public and the deaf community. The research method applied in the study consists of two parts, namely survey questionnaire and software development method to develop the website. From the result of the study, the e-sign language was developed as an assertive website that can help the communities to learn MSL in a more flexible and easy way. The e-sign language comprised of two important modules in learning MSL, interactive images and video module, and also the quiz module. In short, the e-sign language is expected to contribute in the effort of improving the communication between the Malaysian communities and the deaf individuals. Okay. The deaf community is still lag behind in terms of communication. They are extremely reliant on interpreter who help them to communicate with others due to the fact that not every person knows sign language. In Malaysia, these deaf individuals usually use Malaysian Sign Language, MSL, to communicate with communities. The inability of the deaf community to communicate well with the Malaysian communities become an issue as it creates communication barrier. Therefore, an alternative system of communication was proposed to solve the issue. The e-sign language is an assertive website that allows communities to learn sign language in more flexible and easy way. Okay. Sign language. Okay, by using the sign language for communication and sharing of information are done visually by making the exact hand shapes and gesture as opposed to auditory. In Malaysia, the official sign language is Malaysian Sign Language. There are few technology used by the deaf community to communicate. Okay, for example, this community using online texting or short message services, SMS, such as the application of WhatsApp. Another technology used by this community is by using text phone, or also known as minicom, used by the deaf community to access telephony. Okay, another technology is by using the video chat, where video chat is a method to interact by seeing each other's appearances through a screen. Okay, these are the problem statement. Okay, the perception that learning sign language is hard, more challenging, lack of exposure, not being taught in school and only exposed to those in specialized school. Malaysian public is essentially deficient with regards to the awareness to speak with people with disability, particularly with deaf and hearing impaired. The consciousness of this MSL among the society is very upsetting. Various ways to learn MSL, and the most common approach by the communities is to join MSL class by using the internet on related sites or buying books. Okay, so there are three research questions for the study. The first one is how to increase the awareness and knowledge of sign language among communities. Question 2 is what can contribute in reducing the barrier of communication between deaf individuals and the communities. And the third research question is how to provide flexible and easy methods in the learning process of sign language to communities. The purpose of the study is to identify ways to extend the reach of sign language among communities and expose them to sign language knowledge. Further, to investigate methods that can contribute in reducing the barrier of communication between deaf community and the Malaysian public. For the research method, okay, this study using questionnaire where the questionnaire consists of 13 questions and are distributed using online form. And the software development is by using the extreme programming methodology, where this methodology are using 5 phases. It started from planning and then go for design. The third phase is coding. The fourth is testing, and the last one is listening. Okay, for the findings, okay, there are total 110 respondents. Okay, so from the questionnaire, okay, so the number of respondents that have heard on MSL, okay, there are 87 or 79.1% that have heard on MSL, but only 11.8 doesn't heard or never heard about MSL. So therefore, this result indicates that the awareness of the deaf community and the importance of MSL have increased among the communities. Okay, so next is what is the capability to communicate in sign language? So from the study, okay, it shows that okay, there are 53.6% okay, are not having capability to communicate in sign language. Okay, only 9.1% have the capability to communicate in sign language, and 37.3% have know or understand few signs of sign language. So therefore, this result implies that the importance to close the communication gap between the communities and the deaf people are justified. Okay, so what are the factors that preventing communities from learning the sign language? Okay, so based on the study, okay, the 3 most common factors that prevent communities from learning sign language are the highest is time constraint. 60% okay, say that okay, the factor of time constraint are limited or prevented them from learning the sign language, and it's followed by difficult to learn. Okay, meaning that okay, communities feel that the Malaysian sign language are difficult to learn compared to the other language. Okay, and the third factors is the money. Because of to attend a special class, we have to borrow some money to pay for the tuition fees. Okay, so thus from this result indicate that these factors, especially the time constraint, existing method on learning and financial contribute towards the limitation on learning sign language. Okay, next is what is the willingness okay on learning the MSL. So from the study, it says that 70.9 are willing to learn the Malaysian sign language. Okay, and only 7% are do not willing to learn sign language. So therefore, this result indicates that the communities are inclined towards learning the sign language. Okay, so for the result, okay, the one website, okay, to learn the Malaysian sign language is developed, where this website is to easy the learning process of sign language. Okay, so this is the homepage of the e-sign language. And another module of the website is we have the quiz page, where for the quiz page, communities after they have learned some of the basic sign language, they are able to test their knowledge on how do they go for okay, from the study of sign language. Okay, and the module for the sign language consists of 3 modules: alphabets, pronouns, and direction, and also how to show the feeling and also to grade. As the conclusion, the study showed that the awareness of the Malaysian public towards sign language are increased. This platform is able to be as an alternative method to educate communities on what is Malaysian sign language. Utilizing today's technology and the existence of the internet, the learning process can be made easy and more effective. Besides, combining learning with innovation would be a viable method to to advance the learning of MSL for today and for the future communities in Malaysia. With that, I would like to end up my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rasida binti Sardi. Okay, for the presentation. It was a fruitful presentation from Ms. Rasida binti Sardi. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question regarding to the topic presented by our previous presenter, please drop your question. Perhaps you can open your mic and then ask question. Anyone from the audience? Okay, we don't have any question from the audience. All right, the Rasida binti Sardi. Okay, I have a question for this paper, for this topic. So we know that this what we call that website is designed for deaf people, okay, to help them to communicate with the Malaysian communities. So I just want to ask, okay, do they have this kind of, a slang, the Malaysian slang, the Malaysian common language that was implemented in this website?
Okay, so actually, in Malaysia, we have, for sign language, we have more than one sign language. We have the Penang sign language, we have the Malaysian sign language, and we have the other types of sign language. But for the official, we are using Malaysian sign language. Therefore, we are, for study, we are only created on one of the sign language that is officially used by the government and the countries. Because of different countries, they have a different sign language. So because of this study is to educate the Malaysian people. So we are using the official sign language that has been established and used by the government and also by the media nowadays.
All right. Okay, so I think it's a very interesting, what do you call that, module for both the deaf people and also the communities that we have in Malaysia. So, T.S. Rasida, okay, one more question regarding to this topic. Do we have, for this sign language, do we have a trainer, a special trainer to train the Malaysian communities? Okay, when they enter the website, do we have this special trainer, or maybe we just have to refer to the things that we have in the website?
Okay, so actually, to do it formally, we have to refer to the exact trainer, okay, that being qualified by the government. But for this study, we are only referred to the module that's been distributed by the MSL itself. But might be in the later, we are trying to find out the qualified trainer that is been with the qualification, the appropriate qualification with this sign language in order to attach more modules, because of what we have right now is only the basic, like how to grade, how to show the might be in the later. Okay, we are trying to do it by the different level, the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced.
Okay, thank you. So thank you for our third presenter, T.S. Rasida binti Sardi. Thank you for the presentation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, we're moving to our fourth presenter. Okay, I would like to extend an invitation to our fourth presenter, Ms. Kamsiah binti Muhammad. Okay, the topic of her paper is Analysis on Avalanche Effect in Cryptography Algorithm. So please welcome Ms. Kamsiah binti Muhammad.
Okay. Okay, Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Thank you to moderator, Ms. Fariha Diana Awali. Okay, now I start my presentation. Okay, the title of my presentation is an analysis on Avala effect in cryptography algorithm. Okay, so now we go to the presentation outline. For the presentation outline, it consists of introduction, overview, and Avala effect, problem statement, research question, research method, purpose of the study, finding, and conclusion. Now let's move to the introduction. When we said about cryptography, what is cryptography actually? Okay, so cryptography is the technique we use to hide the information from unauthorized user. Actually, cryptography, we always use cryptography in our daily life. Okay, for example, we want to make a payment. We use a cryptographic concept, but we don't know about that, right? Check an account, send and receive an email, make a purchase, and so on. We use cryptography. Okay, so when we said about cryptography is a technique, we call it encryption. Okay, encryption. What is encryption? Actually, encryption is a technique used. We have the plain text. Okay, and plain text means the original text. Okay, we want to change the original text to the ciphertext, which is the ciphertext is the unreadable text. Okay, we don't know about the text. Okay, that's why in many applications we use the concept is cryptography, which is encryption concept. Okay, so that's why we see here in cryptography, the encryption algorithm is a function of the key. Okay, so any cryptography we must have the key. The key is very important. Once intruder know about the key, they can hack the application. Okay, that's the problem. Okay, that's why in this study, okay, we propose one of the block cipher. We design the block cipher, and then based on that, we analyze the block cipher based on avalanche effect. Okay, that one of the technique we use to analyze our block cipher. Okay, now let's move to the figure. Okay, based on this figure, we can see here. Okay, this one about the cryptography algorithm. Okay, we use the cryptography algorithm, and we focus on symmetric key. What is symmetric key? Actually, symmetric key. This one is a private key. Okay, private key just we just use one key to encrypt and decrypt the information. Okay, we focus on symmetric key, not asymmetric key. Asymmetric key, this one is more to public key, which is we use the mathematical concept in asymmetric key. Okay, so that we focus on symmetric key. In symmetric key, there are two types of block cipher. Okay, we can see about the cipher here. One of the cipher is string cipher, another one is a block cipher. So that in my research, I'm focused on block cipher. Okay, in this block cipher, why I use the block cipher? This because if we compare then string cipher and block cipher is more secure and about the bit also. Okay, is different. It's faster than string cipher. That's why in this case I use the block cipher concept. Okay, and then I focus on here. Okay, you can see here there are two types of the function here. The first function is substitution function, and second function is the permutation function. Okay, so I use the substitution function concept. Okay, in substitution function, it consists of the properties, which is the properties is confusion. Okay, to make the function is confused. Okay, that's why it use the concept with confusion. Okay, under SBOC. SBOC, this one is substitution box. We call this one substitution box. Okay, now we go to permutation function. In the permutation function, we have diffusion. Okay, diffusion is means that permutation function. Okay, to diffuse. Okay, the substitution function. Okay, this one perform under P-box, or we call it permutation box. Okay, that's I'm focused in my study. Right now, let's move to the overview on Avala effect. Actually, this one of the technique we use to analyze that block cipher. Okay, so we use avalanche effect. Why we use the avalanche effect? Okay, this why that we see here is referred to as special and desirable property of cryptography algorithm. Okay, so once we use avalanche effect, for example here, if one bit input change in plain text or key, okay, plain text means that the original text. Okay, for example, we use the word hello, hi, apa khabar, okay, that we call as a plain text. Okay, change in plain text causes the output bit to change with the probability half of bits in the ciphertext. Based on the function you can see on the screen, the function is there. Okay, so secure cryptography algorithm must have a strong avalanche effect with a probability of a 50% change in output. Okay, that's why we need avalanche effect, okay, to check or to analyze our block cipher. Okay, so the avalanche effect is desirable property of a block cipher. Okay, next we go to the problem statement. So in order to measure the strength of cryptography algorithm, we need avalanche effect. Okay, that's very important because if a block cipher does not show the avalanche effect, if we make the block cipher easy to hack, okay, and then it makes the block cipher non-random. Okay, crypt analysis easy to attack that block cipher because the avalanche effect is not too strong. Okay, that's the problem. That's why we need the avalanche effect. Okay, so avalanche effect has substantial values as one of the attribute for performance analysis. Okay, which is more than the needed 50% above the original algorithm. However, without a 50% probability of the avalanche effect change in the ciphertext, the algorithm is vulnerable to chosen plain text attack. Chosen plain text attacks means that, for example, linear crypt analysis attack, okay? We have differential crypt analysis attack. There are many attacks, okay, can attack our block cipher. Okay, so the avalanche effect must be considered when designing a block cipher. Okay, now let's turn to the research question. In this study, there are three research questions. For the first research question, is there an avalanche effect in the ciphertext of the proposed block cipher algorithm? Okay. And second research question, how avalanche effect assure data security for proposed block cipher algorithm? And third, how to increase security requirement in the proposed block cipher algorithm? Okay. Okay, let's move to the research method. Okay, in this study, we used the experimental design approach, okay, to evaluate the security of the proposed block cipher algorithm. Okay, for an avalanche effect, the experimental investigated the impact of the output if one of input is altered or modified in plain text or key. Okay, at the first, the data were prepared based on the 32 bits random key and plain text. In the random key data block, one bit in the 32-bit key was changed for the key avalanche effect. Then experimental process was performed to encrypt the key and the plain text block to derive the initial ciphertext. The process was performed on the algorithm by 32 times and calculated the effect of the avalanche in each time based on the generated ciphertext. Let's move to the purpose of the study. So based on the study, it is designed to improve the design of substitution and permutation function. Okay, so as you can see this figure here, okay, based on this figure, we can see the plain text here. Okay, start with the plain text. Plain text means that the original text. Okay, for example, just now I said about the example about the word is hello. We know about the word. Okay, for example, this one we call is a plain text. And then about the number of round here, and R means that number of round. Number of round, this one for the first round. Okay? And then we have a sub key. Then you can see this one about the BBS code. What is BBS code? Okay, BBS code means that blam short code. Okay, blam short code is the programming we use to generate the random key. Okay, that's why it come out with the cipher key here. Okay, random cipher key. And we have here a key shadow. And here you can see dynamic SBOC. The dynamic SBOC, this one, it will generate the name different SBOC every time based on the round. Okay? We can see the number of round here less than 10. Okay? So it will generate dynamic SBOC. Okay? So based on this study, okay, so there are 4 concept here. We use the concept is sub-byte concept. Okay? Sub-byte, or we call it substitution byte. Okay, what the function of substitution byte? Okay, the function is to substitute element in the dynamic export. So every element it will substitute in the sub byte. Sub byte, this one is under substitution function. Okay. And then for the second part, if we go to spiral Fibonacci, you can see the figure here. Actually, the concept of spiral Fibonacci we apply in the nature. Okay, we can see, for example, about our finger. Okay, we can see here. Okay, this one also the concept of spiral Fibonacci, and then you can see our ear. Okay, that the concept spiral Fibonacci, and then we apply that concept, and then we put the concept here. Okay, in this block cipher, okay, the concept of spiral Fibonacci here. Okay, actually this one under permutation function. What the function of spiral Fibonacci? Okay, the function is spiral Fibonacci if you permute or the rearrange, okay, the element from the sub byte. Okay, that the function of spiral Fibonacci, and then after that we will go to mixed column, add round key, and then it will generate the hypertext. Okay, so hypertext means the unreadable text. Okay, so user cannot know about that text. Okay, so now let's move to the finding or the result. Okay, based on the finding, we can see here, based on this table, for the key equivalent effect, one character in the 32-bit key was changed. Okay, for example, here the key, you can see that here there are 32-bit key. Okay, so there are 32-bit key, and then for ciphertext also have 32-bit. Okay, and then for example, we change 1 bit in the 32-bit key. Okay, you can see dramatically if we change the ciphertext until 50%. Okay, ciphertext. So you can see about the avalanche effect. Okay, actually for the analysis, this one we have to change the hexadecimal code into the binary code, okay, to analyze the avalanche effect. Okay, so this process was carried out in 32 times on the algorithm, and the avalanche effect was determined based on the generated ciphertext. Let's move to the finding also. Okay, this one about the chart. Okay, you can see the chart here. Okay, the value of the avalanche effects was nearly 0.5, which is considered sufficient. Okay, so from this result, it appeared that the proposed plot cipher algorithm exhibits a good avalanche effect to have better randomness. Okay, to make it secure from cryptanalysis attack. Okay, so the outcome of the analysis is that the proposed algorithm has satisfied the key avalanche effect with a 50% output bit change in the ciphertext. Okay, as a conclusion, okay, so we can see that from the experiment, we can see the plain text, once 1 bit in the plain text is changed and 1 bit, and then automatically 50% of the ciphertext is changed. Okay, that the proof is our research. Okay. Okay, so it can be concluded that the proposed block cipher algorithm fulfills the avalanche effect property, resulting in better diffusion. Okay. So the result obtained prove the output of the proposed block cipher algorithm is random. Okay, it's irrespective of the input. It shows that the algorithm hides all useful information about the original data. Therefore, the proposed block cipher algorithm has the potential to raise security requirements. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you. Any question?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kamsia. All right, so it was a very interesting explanation, presentation from Mrs. Kamsia. Is there any question from the audience regarding to the paper presented earlier? Let me check the chat section. Okay, so I guess there's no question from the audience. Okay, So, Ms. Kamsia, I only have this one question, okay, for you. As you mentioned just now, okay, we have this block cipher and stream cipher. Okay, what will happen if we use stream cipher instead of a block cipher when it comes to Avalon effect?
Okay, that's a very good question. Okay, so once we use a stream cipher, actually stream cipher is based on bit by bit, is very slow based on the performance. Okay, so if we compare then performance, if you use stream cipher and block cipher, in terms of performance, the block by cipher is better than stream cipher. Okay, because it's used in a stream cipher, it uses the concept of procedural random number. Positive random number is quite slow if we compare than a block cipher. Okay, that's why we need a block cipher. And then based on stream cipher, hackers is easy to attack the blocks the cipher. Okay, that very easy because they know that okay, that bit is about the performance is too slow, and then about the bit also. Okay, that's why it's not secure compared than we use the block cipher. That's why I use the block cipher in my research. That's my answer.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Ms. Kamsia, for the Q&A session.
You're welcome.
Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome our first presenter earlier. Okay, she informed us that she has this connection problem. Okay, so I would like to invite our first presenter, Prof. Madya Dr. Haslinda Sultan Ahmad Nawi. So our first presenter here today will be presenting the topic on assessing community readiness for electronic monitoring device towards community well-being. So I would like to welcome Professor Madya Dr. Haslinda for her presentation.
Okay, thank you, Madam Fariha. All right, okay, I share the screen. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today I would like to share with all of you about our research, me and my teammate. My name is Haslinda Sultan Manawi, Madam Rohaya Abu Hassan, TS Rohaya Abu Hassan, Mr. Nabian Kunalan, TS Siti Fatimah Omar, Professor Madya Dr. Nushafiza Ahmad Syukur, and Professor Madya Dr. Saliani Osman. So our topic is monitoring device towards community well-being. Okay, let me explain about the background of our research. Okay, so what is electronic tagging? Electronic tagging is a form of surveillance that used as an electronic device, fitted to a person. In this case, in our case, is the offender. Okay, for example, an electronic monitoring device called EMD is being attached to an offender ankle or wrist to track their whereabouts. EMD also has been used in healthcare setting for people with dementia. Okay, so what is the benefit of this EMD? The aim of using EMD are many and varied, from reduction in time in custody, thereby allowing government to reduce costs by providing a cheaper alternative to prison. Furthermore, the use of EMD as a mechanism to reduce prison use during the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, in Malaysian scenario, EMD was implemented in August 2015 until current, based on perjanjian agreement, perjanjian KDN PL DRM 21/2015, and it was approved by the Ministry of Home Affairs or KDN itself and Royal Malaysia Police, the PDRM. Okay, currently reported in 2020, the total number of wearer meaning that the offender or suspect who is released from the prison who wear this EMD is around 2,620, as reported on 10 May 2020. Okay, the implementation of this EMD is based on the court order with a special standard operating procedure monitored by the PDRM. This is one of the techniques that has been taken by the PDRM to ensure the repeated crime activity or case decrease within the same suspect or offender. Okay. Okay. This is I'm going to present about the research motivation. Since 2015, this electronic monitoring device or EMD for offenders has been implemented with 2,576 wearers at that time in Malaysia. Okay, this is according to KDN. And the KDN justification for this implementation is to serve to assist offender to re-entry into the community and does not physically restrain a person in prison, as it allows the offender or the person to have more contact with their family members and also to maintain their employment, so they can have a better life with their family members and to take care of their family members. Okay, the target of KDNs and also PDRM, they implemented this EMD in order to reduce the number of offenders placed in prison, and as one of the ways to overcome the logistic issues of offender placement, and also to reduce the cost. So the impact, okay, this is the interesting part. However, the civilian need to know about the electronic monitoring device implementation, not aware of the offenders with electronic monitoring device roaming in the community. Among impact, the impact caused the employer reluctant to hire the electronic monitoring device wearer, so they don't want to hire the offender who wear the EMD. Okay, so this is our research objective. The first one is, what is the scenario of electronic monitoring device implementation in Malaysia? And number two, what are the community readiness towards electronic monitoring device implementation in Malaysia? All right, so the purpose of the study, first one, we would like to know about the community readiness. We to investigate the community readiness towards the implementation of EMD among offenders in Malaysia. And number two is the readiness issue. We would like to highlight, is there any readiness issue? So that the outcome of this study could be provide a foundation for the interested parties, such as the policymaker and enforcement agency, to further look into the readiness issue, because they claim that the civilian did not know about this implementation, most of the civilian. Okay, and number three is plan for further action. The outcome could also be utilized by the interested party, such as the government agency itself or the NGO, in making plan for further action needed to be taken in the implementation strategy of EMD, and how offenders could be able to re-entry into the community safely. Okay, so this is the stages of community readiness by Three Ethnic Center Community Readiness Handbook that was produced in 2014. So we adopt this stage or the community readiness model in our study. So at the first stage is no awareness, meaning that among the community there has no knowledge about the effort, any effort lah. But in our case is the EMD implementation. Okay, but at the stage 9, community ownership, most of community members have considerable and detailed knowledge of the effort, and they think that the effort is very important to them. So that's the difference between no awareness and also community ownership. All right, so we adopt the community readiness model, and this is the stages. Yeah, the first stage, we need to define the issues and also the community. So in our case, we look at the Department of Statistics Malaysia that reported 42.4 of the total index crime occurred in state of KL and also Selangor between 2016 to 2017. While in 2018 and 2019, the crime index ratio per 100,000 population of KL and also Selangor, which is 592.3 and 304.3, and make them remain at the top of the chart. Yeah, so meaning that there are more crime case in KL and also Selangor. So the key stakeholder, we identify the community. So in our case, in our research, the key stakeholder of the EMD implementation are the Royal Malaysia Police, the PDRM, the offender, and the offender of employer and also the civilian. Okay, step 2, where we collect the data and also we do an analysis. Yeah, so we have we just adopt the instrument design where we have questionnaire, 40 question from the Tri-Ethnic Center Community Readiness Handbook. Yeah, and then we do the interview, and then we analyze the data. Yeah? In analyzing the data, it involves mapping individual score, consensus score, and also overall community readiness score. And the last stage is to describe the finding, and we need to report the study. Okay, so this is the respondent profile. According to the model that we adopt, we need to get at least 6 respondents. Yeah, so we got 6 respondents. 3 of them are the citizen, the civilian. 1 from the offender's employer, and 2 from the PDRM itself. We couldn't get chance to interview the offender. Yeah. So this is the profile of them, the age and also years of service. Yeah. Okay. Okay, and this is the 40 questions adopted from the model, the classification of interview question that was in 5 different dimension: community, knowledge of the effort, number 1, number 2, leadership, number 3, community climate, number 4, community knowledge about the issue, and number 5, resource related to the issue. Okay, so this is the question used, and this is the result. Yeah, for the public. Yeah, we have 4 public, whereas P1, P2, P3 are the citizen or the civilian, and E1 is the employer of the wearer, of the EMD wearer. So according to this result, we have the score, and then we calculate the readiness, community readiness score. For public, the stage is at preparation. Yeah, at stage 5. Yeah, 5.7 preparation. And this is the community readiness score for authority agency, where we have 2 officers from the PDRM, and then we got the score 8.4, which means that they are at stage 8 confirmation. Yeah, if we look back at the stage. So this is the stage, the stages. Yeah. So for public, at stage 5, preparation, and for the agency is at initiation. Oh, sorry, confirmation. Okay. And last, we need to calculate the overall community readiness score, and which is from both both category of respondent, we come up with this score where the community readiness is at initiation phase, 6.6, the average of the score. So initiation. Okay, as a conclusion, community readiness model score at 6.6 is at stage 6, initiation. It means the initiation stage where most community members, the civilian, the employer, and also the PDRM officer have at least basic knowledge of the local EMD implementation to offender in Malaysia. Only some of them are familiar with the purpose of the effort, which means the police officer and also the employer. While the leaders here is referring to the government leaders, the KDN, plays a key role in planning, developing, implementing, modifying, and increasing the EMD implementation effort. Okay. However, we also got to find something. It reflected that most interviewees from the public or civilian group, the first group, were not aware about the implementation of the EMD within their community, especially the public or the civilian. Only people who are related to EMD implementation, which is the employer of the EMD wearer and also the police officer, have significant knowledge about EMD implementation to offender done by the authority agency, and they are aware that the initiative occurs in Malaysia. Okay, so conclusion of study is most of the public or civilian is not aware of the existence of EMD initiative, and insufficient knowledge and guideline related to EMD initiative among stakeholders, namely parole officer, employer to EMD wearer, and the local community. So they have not enough knowledge and also guideline. Okay, so this is the suggestion from the study. The first one, we have 5 suggestions. The first one is educating the community about the EMD initiative is crucial to support offenders to return to community and be able to move on with their life, with the hope that the offender do not fall back into committing the crimes. Number 2, increase awareness and exposure of EMD initiative through social media content and appropriate information at the implementing agency website, which is the PDRM and also KDN. Number 3, collaboration between the implementing agency, media practitioner, and also NGO to develop other strategy to help the offender to re-enter the community safely. And then number 4, key leaders to promote the positive impact of EMD initiative to the civilian or to the public or citizen. And the last one is sufficient guideline and training to upgrade knowledge and skill among the EMD implementation stakeholders, especially the parole officer. Because during our interview, we noticed that some of the parole officer did not have sufficient knowledge on how to handle the EMD, devices, and also they said that because they have so many works to do and they don't have specific time. So we need to give some guidelines and also training to them. Okay, so I would like to end my presentation. Thank you to I-ConSPADU for accepting this paper and to for giving chance to me. And I would like to end with the quotes from Rita Rossi. Digital well-being is about crafting and maintaining a healthy relationship with technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions regarding this topic, okay, please drop your question in the chat section, or perhaps you can open your microphone and then you may ask your question live. All right, you don't have any question from the participants. So actually I have question because it is an interesting topic. Okay, I was like I was like wondering, okay, like for this what do you call that, convicted offenders, okay, once they return to the community, and then perhaps if they return to the crimes, to the previous crimes that they have convicted, what will happen? What will happen to this EMD technology? Do they, I mean, put them back in the prison, or perhaps they will release these people?
Okay, when yeah, there are cases where they commit to the same crime, so they have to bring the offender to the court, okay, and then put the offender to the prison, and then they have to go to the same process. If the court ordered that this particular person can go outside and wear the EMD, then the EMD implementation will we will put the implementation to this person. But they have to go again the process, the same process.
So actually, to be frank, my awareness level is at stage 1. Okay.
Your awareness level.
Stage 1, the first stage. Okay. So
Yeah.
So that is why I say this is a very interesting one.
Yeah,
because I didn't know that these people were released, okay, by using this EMD. So actually, what are the causes? What are the constraints that cause this? I mean, the unaware implementation of this EMD technology. Is it because of maybe? Is it because of the lack of exposure from KDN, or perhaps the lack of involvement of youngsters? Because as of now, we need these youngsters to boost this kind of technology to the public.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's almost 6 years, yeah, and then the awareness is so low because one of our team member also don't have knowledge about this EMD implementation. She also we have this kind of implementation in Malaysia, yeah, okay, and feel afraid. Yeah, it is because of lack of knowledge and also awareness among the society or among the community. So that's why this research, we suggest that the authority parties should do initiatives, some sort of initiative like awareness to the public, so that all of us know about the initiative and don't feel afraid. Yeah, because the offender is just like us. Maybe at that time she or he cannot control herself and commit to a crime, but they need to go back to their family, have a normal life, and also they can have a better better life with their family, because they can retain their employability. Yeah, because of the awareness. We don't have awareness, not enough awareness.
All right. Okay. So thank you for the sharing session, Professor. Okay. So thank you for the presentation. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, now we're moving to our last presenter. Okay. We have Ms. Mariam Garib Jabri. So the topic of our paper is blockchain interoperability on healthcare, a systematic review. So I would like to welcome Ms. Mariam Garib for her presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Fariha. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning from Oman. View my screen.
Hello, Ms. Mariam Garib. Is everything okay?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to my presentation. My presentation are talking about the blockchain interoperability on the healthcare and systematic review. I will be under supervision of Dr. Noor, Dr. Haslinda, and Dr. Muhammad. We will cover, inshallah, on this presentation, the abstract introduction, problem statement, study purpose, research question, research method, result and conclusion. Okay. Now for our abstract, or essential, the blockchain is the digital ledger with a centralized public and decentralized record of the executing transaction. One of the many features of the blockchain technology is the interoperability capability that permit the data to be exchanged between the multiple systems and to be considered at the same time by the multiple system also. Interoperability feature is the blockchain has the potential to significantly enhance the outcome of the healthcare. On the healthcare, the blockchain researcher continue to explore how to bring the innovation to his technology and how to make its proper. The purpose of this study is to present the systematic literature review of research on the healthcare blockchain interoperability. The researcher used the preferred reporting item to systematic review guideline, along with the systematic mapping study process, on which research protocol were used to identify, extract, and analyze the all relevant publication across the two significant databases. The study highlights recent advances on the developing of the healthcare blockchain based on the interoperability and their limitation. The area that require the future research. Consequently, the future research is need to categorize and evaluate the blockchain interoperability on the healthcare sector. We have introduction. The blockchain as the basic digital currency is decentralized public digital ledger that contain the all committed transaction. It is the technology based on the peer-to-peer ledger and has been gained a lot of attention from the various industry, such as the finance, healthcare, and supply chain. Interoperability is defined as the capability of the different systems to communicate with each other without limitation by exchange the data between the multiple systems. We have a problem statement. Everybody disservice to get the healthcare program, whether provided by the government or provided by healthcare provider. Sometimes it's necessary for the patient to be treated by more than the healthcare provider. This requires exchange of the information across the different healthcare provider. On the information communication technology, it involves the data to be able to be transmitted across the different platform infrastructure. Apart from that, the data integrity is also critical to ensure the data transfer from one provider to other and continue to accurate and trustworthy. This is interoperability characteristic on the blockchain play an important role for the information exchange to be happen. However, not much have been learned on this. It's important to uncover the healthcare blockchain interoperability on systematic manner. The reviewer will analyze and discuss the implication related to the current use of the blockchain on the healthcare based on the article classified by the year. Now, the purpose of this study is to present systematic literature review of the research healthcare blockchain interoperability, searching parameter where it's resulted, and after that filtered by the 4 research questions that were desired and conclude. The review present the current implication and the gap referring to the use of the blockchain interoperability on the healthcare sector. Now we have the 4 questions that we will present it there. The first one, what is the blockchain interoperability? The second one, how the blockchain interoperability component can be used to develop the healthcare system. What the blockchain interoperability application has been developed on the healthcare domain. On the healthcare domain, what the research limitation need to be addressed. Okay, there. The method, the research method. We use the data source. This is a study representing systematic literature review on the blockchain based on the interoperability of the healthcare using Prisma, which is referred to the Prisma statement. Researcher search for the 2 database, which is the PubMed and the Microsoft Academic, searching engine for the article discussing the blockchain interoperability component. After that, the researcher search only for the article, mention the term of the blockchain interoperability on the healthcare, and the researcher examining the article title and the abstract between the 1st June of 2060 until the 3 August 2021, including and excluding article. The study focused mainly on the blockchain interoperability on the healthcare according to the including criteria for the article where the blockchain interoperability component and application and the limitation based on the healthcare. As the research item, focus only on the term of the equivalent with the term of the blockchain interoperability healthcare. Now we will see, we have the 2 databases, what I mentioned on the previous one. The first one, the Microsoft Academic Database, and we have the PubMed database, which is defined 104 article. Okay, 50 from the Microsoft Academic Database, and the second from the PubMed. We exclude from the public from the Microsoft Academic Database, we exclude 38. This is not related to our research. And after that, we include 16, which is related to our research. For the PubMed, we exclude 48 and we include 8. The title, the total article that we evaluated there, it will be 24. Now we will see the chart, the developing publishing article starting from 2017. After that, it's a grow to reach on the 2018, it will be there. It's a lot of researchers are searching there. On 2020, it's reached 20. Until the August 2021, they publish only the 10 article related to this field. The finding, first, for the first question, based on the result of the searching of the blockchain interoperability, the table display the most popular definition used by the researcher, which is determine that the blockchain is the combination of the multiple blockchain platforms which are connected into the single network. The second one, the component, where are the verb blockchain interoperability component, including software, system, and application. However, they can combine the blockchain on the different network into one. The figure that show how the different healthcare system can be interconnected through the blockchain interoperability, allowing from a seamless exchange information between them. Now, if you see, this is the diagram, or this is the figure that representing the blockchain interoperability. The components are the different blockchain from the different sector. For example, we have the healthcare system with a different infrastructure, and they can be combined with other healthcare system, which is also have the different infrastructure and the different system platform. All of these are combining on the one blockchain interoperability, which is proposed from this. The third one, the blockchain application. Absolutely, there is a lot of the application that are talking about the blockchain. But if you see inside this table, we have the first example, which is it's not implementing the application, it's only implementing the framework. The component only hospital, patient and the doctor, and the feature is decentralized. Now, if we return back after the analysis, they said it is still, we are defined, it is still the some limitation, including that does not cover the all stakeholder. That means we cannot define any application or a framework that contain the all stakeholder, which is mentioned there. It's representing by hospital, patient, doctor, pharmacy, drug supply chain, and the insurance company. As well, the sum of the application look for decentralized function, which is the critical for the increasing the security and the privacy. For example, on last example, this is the last one does not have the feature of the decentralized. The last question, which is also representing the limitation. The table are show the healthcare related issue that can be improved and addressed by the technology. As the result, ensuring the security, data sharing, interoperability, and the data integrity are the most urgent priorities. Researchers identify the lack of the progress on the integrating a security, since most hospitals are still sending the record and communicate physically. The researcher has shown that the blockchain can be used to create and manage distributed database to hold the transaction involved with the multiple node of the network. However, the implementation of it is on the healthcare has not met the interoperability standard. That means we cannot combine the all infrastructure from the different hospital and one network. Furthermore, they identify the user authentication blockchain and the IoT on the drug supply chain, data exchange structure, performance, cost, efficiency, big data, and the medical record project that are not integrated, privacy, scalability as the issue that we need to be addressed. Conclusion, this study review the research on the healthcare blockchain interoperability on the systematic manner. The reviewer analysis and discuss the implication related to the current use of the blockchain on the healthcare based on the article classified by the year. As a result, this technology is not perfect due to its the shortcoming, which including the fact that it's not the all stakeholders are campaigning or provide to be access it. In addition, the sum of the application does not provide the decentralized or an essential step on the securing data. In addition, the research study highlight the security and interoperability challenge and acknowledgement lack of the progress. Blockchain researchers are still investigating how the technology can be interoperable on the healthcare and how to be bring innovation on it. The report contained available information to help researchers to evaluate the value blockchain interoperability on the healthcare domain. This is some example of the references. Do you have any question?
Thank you, Ms. Mariam Al-Jabri, for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions, Ms. Mariam? Let me check the chat section. Okay, we don't have any question from the chat section. Okay, Miss Mariam, so I have this one simple question for you. Okay, it will not be a very difficult one, it's very easy. Okay, so as you mentioned just now, Miss Mariam, the conclusion part, okay, you mentioned that the future researcher, okay, should find a way to improvise and overcome the decentralized issue regarding to the blockchain interoperability. Okay, so Miss Mariam, do you think if they manage to overcome this issue, can this be implemented among private healthcare institutions? As we all know, they have these confidential documents that they have to keep among themselves because they are competing with other healthcare institution. So do you think we can actually implement to those private hospitals, healthcare institution that we have?
Yes, absolutely. Because the technique of the blockchain are combine the all infrastructure or the different platform from private or public hospital or the healthcare institution on one network. It will provide something called key. Each hospital having a key, and they cannot share this key with other participants. That means all the data, it will be secure. But the benefit of using the blockchain, it will be the transaction and the communication for the all. That means if any transaction are done, okay, between the participant on the existing blockchain network, okay, it will be private and secure. You cannot see the private information from such a presenter or component of this blockchain. Absolutely, it's secure. If you compare the blockchain network with the normal one, it's more secure. And we have the article improve this. And we have the evidence that say the blockchain are more secure because it's provide the key for each participant.
Okay, I think that's all for this session. Thank you for the response, Ms. Mariam Majabi.
Thank you.
So ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a break from 12:30 p.m. and we will see you guys again at 2 p.m. okay, in the main hall. Okay, so we have our forum. So I really hope that the presenters here today, okay, can join us for our main ceremony in the main hall to join our keynote speech from Dr. James Wilton Ely. And then we also have this forum session, okay, from 3 panels, okay. So kindly join at 2 p.m. So we will take a break from 12:30 p.m. until 2 p.m. So we hope that you can join us for the afternoon session. So ladies and gentlemen, as you can see in the chat section, I posted this attendance link, attendance form. Please fill up the form for today's certificates for joining us for this parallel session. Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. So I think everyone gave 100% commitment throughout the presentation today. It was a very interesting topics shared by all the presenters. So I hope to see you guys in our next conference later. So thank you for joining us. Assalamualaikum and thank you, everyone.